Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. A review finds missed opportunities to help a baby who was murdered by his parents in Chesterfield, 39 days after being placed back into their care. Authorities involved in 10-month-old Finley Bowden's case have apologised. We'll have the very latest. Also tonight, residents are told their homes have to be demolished after a landslip which has closed a rail line in West Yorkshire. Just a £5,000 deposit for a new home. We ask if this new mortgage deal could be risky for first-time buyers. And the South Yorkshire Theatre School, hit by Storm Babette, returns with a flood-proof floor to stop more damage in the future.
Well, it was nice to see a bit of sunshine in between the showers there at Lodgemore outside Sheffield, but it remains unsettled tomorrow and into Good Friday, but just perhaps a bit of an improvement in time for that Easter weekend. Join me for the very latest.
Hello, thanks for joining us on Wednesday's Look North. First tonight, missed opportunities and serious shortcomings in the care of Finley Bowden. The 10-month-old was murdered by his parents in Chesterfield just weeks after being placed back into their care. Now, Finley died on Christmas Day in 2020. He'd suffered 130 appalling injuries. Stephen Bowden and Shannon Marsden were jailed last year for his murder. Today, a review found that although his parents were responsible for his death, professional intervention should have protected him. COVID disrupted social services, and when a caseworker was off sick, no one visited the family for 6 weeks. In a moment, we'll hear from a children's charity, but first, Jeremy Ball has this report.
A smiling, happy baby, but Finley Bowden didn't live to see his first birthday. Finley spent much of his short life in care and died on Christmas Day in 2020, only weeks after moving in with his parents. Stephen Bowden and Shannon Marsden were convicted of what the judge described as a savage and sadistic murder. Their son had 130 injuries, including burns and broken bones. Today's safeguarding review says they're responsible for Finley's death. But professionals were too willing to believe their lies, according to today's report. Over 50 pages which set out a catalogue of missed opportunities. They should have been more concerned about the couple's drug use, it says, and Bowden's history of domestic violence. And COVID lockdowns played a part too. The safeguarding review says remote working and restricted access made protecting children more difficult, but there were still significant shortcomings, it says.
These are not excuses. As the report says, Finley should have been one of the most protected children in the local authority area. More could and should have been done to help keep Finley safe.
The report says neighbours at Old Whittington in Chesterfield had raised concerns, and Finley's mum called the police after someone banged on the door for a drug debt. The couple presented these pictures of a tidy home at a crucial family court hearing. This was the reality. Finley died in squalor.
This is an absolute tragedy. We are, as a council, we regret the outcome that with this little boy dying. We take full responsibility. There was a massive context around it in a pandemic. Care procedures were undertaken in a virtual way as opposed to in, face to the norm. So every process that we work with was turned on its head.
The failings around Finley's murder have prompted 11 recommendations. Those have all been accepted. And Derbyshire County Council says changes have already been made to protect other vulnerable children. Jeremy Ball, BBC Look North, South Normanton.
Just tragic, isn't it? Well, I've been speaking to Helen Westerman from the children's charity, the NSPCC in Leeds, to get her reaction to today's review.
Well, Bowden and Marsden are fully responsible for Finley's death, but the review does reveal that prior to and during Finley's short life, there were so many red flags and missed opportunities to ensure that he was properly protected. And it's right now that action is taken in line with the report's recommendations.
Let's talk about some of that, because we heard that the couple worked together to stop social workers entering the home. They cancelled health visitor appointments just days before his death. They had a history of drug abuse and violence. Should there be more rigorous checks after a child is returned to their parents in those sorts of circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, clearly there were failings here, and it's really vital, as suggested in the review that there is effective planning, support, but also monitoring during and after the process of returning a child to their parents who've been in local authority care. That's really important. But also to be curious about a parent's capacity to change, but also to to acknowledge when there are parental difficulties such as drug and alcohol misuse.
And there were conflicting opinions on how long it should be that Finley was returned to his parents. A social worker suggested 4 months slow transition would be appropriate, yet magistrates ruled it should be half that, 8 weeks. Who should be making those decisions?
Well, this is really difficult because the local authorities seemed underprepared when they went to court to provide that robust evidence of that longer period of time in terms of bringing Finley home and monitoring that. So, there were failings on all sides here, but clearly those who knew Finley best, those professionals working with the family, should be able to put forward their case for how a child is returned home and how long that takes.
We heard in the case of Star Hobson about social workers facing huge workloads and missed opportunities there. When will lessons be learnt, Helen?
We know that a lot of local authorities are at breaking point and 1 in 5 councils are at risk of bankruptcy. So we know that the government need to act now to really deliver their reform programmes, stable homes built on love right across the country. And we need whole-scale reform and investment of children's social care and the funding to do that. But we also want immediate funding for early help services, family help services, which help prevent families spiralling and get that early help when it's most needed.
Helen, thank you for your time. Next tonight, Network Rail says it has no option to demolish 2 houses above a railway line near Bradford following a landslip 7 weeks ago. The railway at Beldon has been closed since February when heavy rain caused cracks to appear in gardens next to a steep embankment. Well, thousands of tonnes of soil then slid down the slope onto the railway. Here's our transport correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
Teetering on the brink, high above the Bradford to Ilkley railway line. Until 7 weeks ago, around a third of this steep banking was garden, belonging to the 2 houses. The gardens collapsed down the hill, and now there are fears the homes will follow.
We've got trapped cats.
Network Rail will purchase the properties and press ahead with demolition so the railway can reopen.
This is a very unusual situation due to the complex nature of the site and the critical need to reopen the railway, where we need to use our statutory powers to allow us to safely resume the repairs to this site to reopen the railway.
And that does mean knocking the homes down?
That will mean safely removing the properties.
That process is expected to begin in the next few days. For remaining residents on the small estate above the railway, it's been a hugely worrying time.
My neighbours are absolutely devastated. Nice people, they lived here virtually since, for the past 38 years. It's their livelihood, it's the house they brought, it's a home. But they're absolutely devastated, both of them, really.
The movement.
In the garden next to one of the stricken homes, sensors have been placed in the lawn, detecting any sign that the land is moving again.
Well, at the moment, apparently it's not moved at all. So as long as it stays that way, that's fine. To have this happen to you with virtually no notice is a terrible shock, and no one wanted to leave, so it's just awful.
Network Rail are using an 1842 Act of Parliament that allows them to demolish the properties. The local MP finds that worrying.
Ultimately, to me, it should be for a court to decide whether what Network Rail want to do is justified, proportionate in this particular circumstance. It seems to be a strange situation if Network Rail claim that they've got the power to demolish people's houses without any right of appeal at all.
Like several public bodies, Network Rail has statutory powers, and the statutory powers exist for us to run a safe and efficient railway. Regrettably, in this instance, we in a position where we need to use those to safely continue the operations on the repairs to the site to reopen the railway.
The line has been closed since early February, and that reopening is still a long way off. Even after the properties have been demolished, this is a hugely challenging engineering task for Network Rail. 8,000 tonnes of spoil will have to be removed, and then it's likely to be another 3 months before trains are running through here again. Heavy rain has caused an increasing number of railway landslips in recent years. This is the first to have such a devastating impact on neighbouring properties. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North, Beldon.
You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. The rising cost of getting children to school, why councils in Yorkshire are facing an increased bill for pupils with special educational needs. A jury has been sent out to consider its verdict in the trial of a man accused of the murder of a West Yorkshire police officer. PC Sharon Beshanivsky was killed when she interrupted an armed robbery at a travel agent's in Bradford in 2005. The alleged ringleader of the group that carried out the raid has been on trial at Leeds Crown Court. Corinne Wheatley is there for us now. Corinne, what's the latest?
Well, the jury has heard 6 weeks of evidence about this armed robbery in Bradford in 2005 that led to the death of PC Sharon Beshanivsky. The court heard that there were 7 men involved in the plan. Of those, 75-year-old Piran Ditta is the last to be tried. He was extradited from Pakistan last year. He's admitted robbery but denies murder and 4 firearms offences. Now, the robbery took place on the 18th of November 2005 at Universal Express Travel Agents. PC Beshanivsky was one of the officers who responded to the raid. She was shot and killed, and her colleague was shot in the chest but survived. Now, the prosecution have alleged that Khan was the ringleader of this plot, and that even though he remained in the vehicle while the robbery was carried out, that he still played a pivotal role, that he gave instructions, that he knew loaded weapons were going to be used. They said that he may as well have pulled the trigger himself. The defence said that Mr. Khan didn't know guns were going to be used, that he thought that the men he was with would simply intimidate or at most slap the staff to recover the cash. He said that they were there to recover cash that was owed to him by the owner of the business. The defence said there was no evidence that the guns were ever brandished in front of Mr. Khan, and he's previously told the court that he didn't know 2 police officers had been shot until the group of men returned to the house. Now, the judge has finished summing up in this case today, and the jurors have been sent out to consider their verdict.
Corinne, thank you. Now, for children with special educational needs and disabilities, having access to free transport to and from school is a must. But councils say the costs are just becoming unsustainable. Across our region, councils have seen costs almost double in the last 5 years. In Sheffield, for example, costs there have risen by 159%. That's the highest in our region. Tom Ingle joined one family as they got ready for school this morning.
Well done. Good job. Basically, we get up and it's hell. I have to get both kids ready. Obviously, Emmy leaves at 8, then we have to set off for school with Edie to get her there on time.
So there's a lot of kind of split-second timing.
Yeah, Emmy's she's very on routine. If her routine's disrupted, she gets a bit wobbly.
Every morning, the routine is the same. Stevie's daughter Emmy is autistic, and they wait for a taxi to take her to a school 12 miles away in Sheffield. In the meantime, Stevie takes her other daughter Edie to a different nearby school. The transport service is vital to family life.
It's changed our life. Life is so much easier right now. Emmy is so happy and so settled, and home life's different. It's different because she's happy and settled. It's not the daily battle. It's not. I don't know. She's happy. It would change everything if they took that away.
Louise Radford shares that sentiment, while her daughter Sarah shares the taxi ride with Stevie's daughter to the Discovery Academy.
Sarah needs to be in the Discovery Academy. She needs the support of a taxi people to support her within the taxi and to take her to and from the house and to the schools as well.
Did it take you some time to actually be allocated to the Discovery Academy and therefore to have the transport?
It did, yeah. Sarah was out of school for just over a year.
Sheffield City Council have told us that since the start of the last academic year in September 2023, an additional 245 children now need to use their transport services. They've told us costs are rising all the time because of many factors, including inflationary pressures. And they're looking to establish a new model to deliver the service so it can be more sustainable.
Disabled children have a legal right to school transport. They often have to travel a lot further than their non-disabled peers, and it's really unfair for councils to try and balance their books on the backs of families with disabled children that already are under enormous pressure.
Managing mornings can be stressful for any family. For Stevie, Louise and many more like them, the council's help is the difference between their children making it to school or not. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Stocksbridge.
Next tonight, sewage spills into the river and sea in Yorkshire more than doubled last year, according to new figures from the Environment Agency. Now, the spills are not illegal, but campaigners say they should only happen in exceptional weather. Yorkshire Water has called it disappointing, but points to high levels of rainfall in 2023. Paul's here with us. Paul, what have we learned from today?
Well, first of all, this storm overflow system, one of two things can happen when it chucks it down with rain. Either the sewage backs up into our homes, or it's allowed to be released into rivers and the sea. And as you've just pointed out, there's nothing illegal in that. That said, the figures are pretty gloomy. The total sewage spills from monitored storm overflows were up by 40%. And the number of hours of sewage spills from monitored storm overflows in the Yorkshire Water area more than doubled. 516,000 hours of sewage overflows into the rivers and the seas. Now, here's what water campaigner Fergal Sharkey had to say, and a spokesman for Water UK.
It is just yet again another complete and utter shambles, and highlights, not for the first time, that government has lost control of this industry. We have a regulatory system that is clearly dysfunctional and not capable of doing its job, and a water industry that is still bent and focused entirely on greed.
We are shocked too. These figures are unacceptable. Nobody wants sewage entering our waterways. It is a design feature, sadly, of our network that was built in some cases over a century ago. It needs a lot of investment to bring it up to the 21st century. We have a plan to do just that, and we're very keen to get on with it as fast as we can.
Now, Yorkshire Water have said they are disappointed with the figures, but point out that they are going to spend £180 million by 2025 to try and reduce this spillage.
But heavy rainfall has also been a factor here, hasn't it?
Well, there's a few things going on here. First of all, you know, this has been going on for decades, and campaigners will say that there's just been a chronic lack of investment in the water infrastructure. But you're quite right. You know, we've been talking on Look North for months on end about how much rainfall we have had. And we've had, you know, across the UK, there's been 20% more rainfall in 2023 compared with 2022. So that all flows into the rivers and the system. And, you know, monitoring. 20 years ago, we didn't know that all this sewage was going into the rivers and the sea, and now we do. And it's worth pointing out as well, climate change suggests that autumns and winters are going to get much wetter. So this is a big problem, and it's going to need a lot of money spending on it.
Yeah, and it's a story we'll keep coming back to. Paul, thank you. And if you want to find out if sewage was dumped into the rivers or sea in your area, you'll find an interactive map on the BBC website showing the total hours of discharge in every part of the region. You just scan the QR code that's on the screen now, or you can follow the links on the BBC News homepage. Now, do you dream of owning your own home? Well, first-time buyers are being offered the chance to pay a deposit of just £5,000 to get on the housing ladder. The new mortgage from Yorkshire Building Society is valid on homes worth up to £500,000. But experts warn it could be risky. Heidi Tomlinson reports.
Buying a house for the first time can be a daunting experience, with a myriad of financial and property concepts to grasp. Ensuring affordability is the top priority. Saving for a deposit is often the first step to getting on the housing ladder.
According to the Yorkshire Building Society, the average house price in our region is £207,500. And let's say the average saver puts around £235 a month into an account towards a 5% deposit. That means it would take 3.5 years to save enough money to apply for a mortgage.
On the current kind of conventional mortgage in the market, you'd need a deposit of about £10,000.
From today, the Yorkshire Building Society is offering a £5,000 deposit mortgage to first-time buyers. It's a 5-year fixed deal at 5.99%.
So from what we can see, yes, it is the first time this has been done. And it is unusual in the sense that a normal mortgage, you would need to put in a percentage deposit, so 5% or 10%. Now what we're doing here is we're fixing that deposit at £5,000, and that reduces that time to be able to save the deposit down to about 2.5 years on average, and that's massive for people.
So wouldn't it be better for first-time buyers in the long term to have a lower interest rate rather than this low deposit?
We would love to be able to reduce rates, but ultimately the market dictates where rates are right now. Actually, what our customers are telling us is that raising that deposit is the biggest challenge for them, and that's what this product aims to do.
I think it's always really good to see innovation in the mortgage market, so new ideas and providers coming out with different products. But if you're borrowing 100% of the amount of the property, or in this case, maybe 99%, then you only need house prices to drop by a little bit before you end up owing more than the property is worth.
25-year-old primary school teacher Max Reeder from Wath-upon-Dearne has been saving for a deposit.
For last year, I would have saved £8,400.
Higher deposits can mean lower interest rates, so he's putting down as much as possible, but says the £5,000 deal is appealing.
People are struggling to take that chunk of money out of their wages into saving for it. It really does cause a lot of issues for a lot of people.
Buying a property for the first time is a challenge with countless hoops to jump through before contracts are exchanged. A low deposit mortgage could bring young people a step closer to completion. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North.
Now, in May, we'll get the chance to vote for region-wide mayors in South West and North Yorkshire. And ahead of those elections, BBC Yorkshire will host 3 special programmes. We would love you to get involved, whether it's crime, transport or the economy. If you have got a question or issue that you would like to raise with the candidates, or if you'd like to be part of the audience for the debate, then we'd love you to get in touch. You can scan the QR code on the screen now, or you can use the number and send a WhatsApp message, or you can email us look.north@bbc.co.uk. So many ways to get in touch. And also, if you're interested in becoming the new BBC Voice of Bradford, then you can sign up in person tomorrow. The Radio Leeds team are in the Broadway Shopping Centre until tomorrow to speak to budding applicants. The New Voices Bradford winner will get the opportunity to join the BBC team to help report on the year of culture across TV, radio, digital and online. It's such an exciting opportunity for someone, is that? Now, you may remember that when Storm Babette swept across the region last October, it was Catcliffe in South Yorkshire that was one of the places that bore the brunt of that. 120 properties were flooded, including the much-loved Jack's Theatre School. Extensive repairs were needed and a new waterproof dance floor has been built. The classes continued at a nearby church hall while work was done, but now the teachers and the young performers are thrilled to be back in their home. Beth Parsons has been to meet them all.
Let's see what we've got. Oh no, we're in. Oh my goodness.
The first look at Jack's Theatre School after the flooding in October last year.
We weren't really expecting it. It was only one day's rain. How could one day's rain do all that? It just kept getting higher.
I could see people's houses flooded. I could even see it down the road here. It was like a massive puddle. Right then I was like, I hope people are okay. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was terrified.
It was 89 centimetres high in the building. Everything that was below that was destroyed and we've had to start again.
But now, after 6 months of repairs...
I walked through the door and I'm like, I'm back! And I was really excited to start dancing.
Everything, obviously, below flood level needed to be cleaned and repainted. A new dance floor. The new dance floor is waterproof, so should we flood again, we can take it out, clean it down, put it back. We've worked really hard to make sure it's clean and it's safe and it's dry. And so, yeah, it's really lovely. And the kids are loving it. They're loving being back.
I was really excited because Jacks were coming back and I love Jacks. It was like entering a new world. I was a bit nervous when I first came in, but it was really nice.
Classes are back on, voices are warmed up, and the performers here are ready to get back into the groove. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Catcliffe.
That deserves showbiz jazz hands. Come on, Paul. Give me them. You should see his socks. They're very showbiz. Do we get a flash of them?
Well, you can if you want. I don't actually know where they came from.
They're like, where's Wally?
I think I got dressed in the dark. But anyway, let me show you this field. I have to pull my pants back down there. No, the field of oilseed rape, I mean, like everything else, it's pretty early, isn't it? But I mean, I love that tree, that oak tree there in the middle of that field. And at Whitby, well, there weren't many takers on the beach today, but at least there's been some sunshine. Everybody's asking about the Easter weekend. Well, may well be. We've got a bit of a glimmer of hope this weekend, fewer showers and a bit more in the way of sunshine. If you've got anything you want to send to me, send it on Twitter, Instagram, or on the Weather Watcher website. We'll try and get some of your pictures on the TV tomorrow night. Now, tomorrow is looking pretty unsettled. It's going to be often windy. There'll be showers, even some longer outbreaks of rain, and low pressure firmly in charge. And don't be too depressed, because if you've got friends that are off to Spain and Portugal this Easter weekend, it's rotten down there as well with a lot of rain. But for us, just a bit of hope that we'll be in between systems, and Saturday and Easter Sunday are not looking too bad. Yes, a risk of 1 or 2 showers, but there should also be some nice spring sunshine around at times. Now, there was a narrow band of rain that came through around the middle of the day. There's a bit of a data glitch at the moment. We're looking down to the southwest. There's rain coming into Cornwall, and on current timings, that will be into South Yorkshire by 6 o'clock in the morning, and it means a wet start for most of us in the morning. So 1 or 2 showers around at first, and then it's mostly dry with clear spells, a bit of patchy fog for a time. There's that rain into Derbyshire and South Yorkshire by 6 o'clock in the morning, lowest temperatures around 3 or 4 degrees. So tomorrow's high water time, Scarborough 5:45, Bridlington at 6:04. So a dry start across North and possibly West Yorkshire, but that rain already into South Yorkshire will move quickly northwards through the morning, followed by a bit of a clearance, some sunshine around the middle of the day, and then we've got another load of showers to push up from the south through the afternoon and the evening, and some of those could be heavy with the risk of some thunder. Temperatures coming in at around 10 Celsius, that is 50 Fahrenheit. Good Friday then, another day of sunshine and scattered locally heavy showers, but there's again a hint that the Easter weekend is not looking too bad and feeling quite mild in the spring sunshine. A lot of uncertainty for early next week, showers on Easter Monday, longer spells of rain thereafter. That's the forecast, Amy.
The Easter bunnies will be pleased.
I'm sure they will, yes.
That is it from us, but Keely's here with the late news at 10:30 this evening. But from Paul and I, bye-bye for now. Have a lovely Easter, because I won't see you until after the weekend. Bye-bye.